to be on any YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Can I un
Zoom. Okay. Resume. Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Friday Morning Book Group. Thank you all so much for being here and joining us today. Today we're going to discuss Four Seasons in Rome by Anthony Doerr, who is most well known for All the Light You Cannot See, though he wrote this book before he wrote that one. And as we probably know from reading it, his task was to write All the Light We Cannot See on his year in Rome. But he got a little distracted. So
A lot distracted.
A lot distracted is right. So he has written many short stories and essays, which have won 4 O. Henry Prizes. He lives in Boise, Idaho with his family. He has 2 twin boys.
They must be all grown up now.
They must be, yeah, because this was 04. So they're about 16. Hopefully they're all well.
Hardly grown up.
So Four Seasons in Rome is a book that I read when it first came out, and I loved it. I knew nothing about Anthony Doerr. I just pulled it off the shelf because I had always wanted to go to Rome. I've never been to Italy. And I thought, I'm going to read this book. It's easy, it's short. And I fell in love with his writing. And I fell in love with everything about the book. It just appealed to me, the travelogue part of it, the parenting part of it, all the mishaps, and probably mostly for me, all the imagery in his beautiful descriptions. I just love the imagery. So he really sets the tone in the very beginning of the book, page 1 to 2. I'll just read a little snippet of that.
Deb, somebody just sent an email saying they wanted to be admitted.
Sorry. Thank you. Irene and Vagna and Mary. Okay. Hello, everybody who's joining us now. Thank you for joining us. This is great. We have a really big group today. Thank you, Pam, for letting me know that. I'm always so focused on what I'm doing. I should look at the waiting room. Oh, yeah, and so far that's all. If we get more, hopefully I'll be on the lookout. Hi, Mary and Irene and Vagna. How are you?
Hi, Deborah.
Good.
Thanks for letting me in.
Of course. Yeah, Pam alerted me.
Yeah,
I need
and
help
that's why I
this.
sent it to the group. I thought that maybe you'd be busy, so somebody else might see the note.
Oh yeah, perfect. That was a perfect. That was the best idea.
Yeah. Thank you.
Like being in college where the 8 p.m. professor would lock the door if you're 1 minute late.
Oh, I know. Here, you're welcome. Anytime. And for those of you who have not attended before, I should say, we do go around the room or around the screen and give everyone a chance to participate and comment. So you certainly do not have to. Could I ask everyone just to mute right now while I start? Appreciate it. So I don't know why I'm coming off with an echo. Are you hearing an echo or is it okay? Okay, good. So we are recording this for those of you who haven't done it before, and as well, you're welcome to participate or just to listen, but we do go around the room and everyone shares their comments. So we had started, and I'll just continue from where we were. So a little bit of what I said, what appealed to me, many things, but mostly his imagery, his writing, which is so beautiful. And his description of life with infants was just so spot on. So his plan was to work on All the Light You Cannot See during this year, but of course he ended up with this memoir. And I'd just like to read a couple of quotes. So one that struck me was, in the States, practically every time someone, and he's talking about the babies, in the States, practically every time someone would stop us on the street or in the grocery store, they gesture at the stroller and say, "Twins? Bet you have your hands full." They'd mean well, of course, but to be reminded of something you can't forget is really debilitating. I prefer the Italian mothers who lean over the stroller and whisper, "So beautiful." The smiles of passing children, the old Roman who stopped us today and grinned at Henry and Owen before shaking my hand and saying with a bow, "Complimente, my compliments." I really like that. And then another quote of his about his writing style. He says, "I X-ray sentences. I claw away a paragraph and reshape it as carefully as I can, and I test it again and peer into the pages to see if things in there are any clearer, any more resolved. Often they are not. But to write a story is to inch backwards and forwards along a series of planks you are cantilevering out into the darkness, plank by plank, inch by inch, and the best you can hope for is that each day you find yourself a little bit further out over the abyss." I really like that as well. So I'm going to open up now to discussion, and if you'd like to comment, just raise your hand and I'll call on you. So who would like to speak? And for those who don't have video on, just give me a signal somehow. All right. We're open. Who would like to comment on the book? Anybody? Bev. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I really like the book. I agree with you. He writes beautifully. And he described Rome to a T. Yeah, and that's all I have to say.
Have you been to Rome, Bev?
I have.
Ah, so you know.
And when I came back to the States, all I could think of was, oh my God, there are these big lumbering cars.
Ah, interesting.
Driving in the little cars, you know, with Romans.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It's a difference.
I don't know if it's still like that today, but
yeah,
it was when I was there.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, the small cars.
Yeah.
All right.
Drivers.
All right. Well, have
Okay.
you read All the Light You Cannot See, Bev?
Yes, I like that too. He's a great writer.
He is. He is. And maybe we'll do that book someday.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Bev.
Okay.
Anybody else? Tanya.
Okay. In general, I love the book. I was in Italy several times, so to me, Rome, I could see the way he described it. And most of all, I like the way he described the seasons, of course, and about his family and all that. The only thing I found in some places, I think a little overloaded the details. You know, I was getting a little bit too much on details.
Too much, yeah.
Other than that, I liked it. And most of all, I learned about the young writer, Keith, that John Keith, that died so young. He died when he was only 26 years old. I didn't realize that. That was a very interesting part for me to read about him. and how he goes to visit the cemetery and all that. So in some parts, there were some very interesting parts, but most of it, I could see Italy. I knew about the fountains, I know all about. So
Oh, that's
I was
great.
in most of those places. So it was very meaningful to me.
That's great. Were his
That's
descriptions
about it.
were his descriptions true to as you remember it, as you remember Rome?
Even more so. I now that I read it, it came back to me, and I didn't realize while I was there, how meaningful it was. I just took it the way it was. I went to the museum, I went here, I went there.
Yeah.
But most of all, the details that he put in. But at times it was a bit too much already for me.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm glad the book wasn't any longer. Well, that's great. Thank you so much, Tanya. Okay, who else? Marilyn.
Hi, I'm a little reluctant because this is my first time, but
No, feel comfortable. We're all.
I love the book. I've been to Italy, and ironically, my husband and I had planned a month-long trip for May that we had to cancel. So this was sort of a reminder of how special Italy is.
Mm-hmm.
He's only been to Venice, so there was going to be an exploration of a lot of other parts of Italy. I love the details about the children and the struggles to write and still have these, and especially I had the image of them carrying that double stroller down those long steps and everything and getting on buses, and it was just amazing. My daughter is expecting, and I was saying, you have to read this so that anything that happens to you, you realize it's not as hard as it could be.
That's great.
But I love the remark that he made. I've traveled a lot, but I remember I didn't travel until I was the beginning of college or sometime. And he wrote that coming from Boise, Idaho, everything was normal there. And suddenly when you're placed in another country, you notice everything. You notice the weather, you notice the trees, you notice the birds.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so true and what I love about traveling.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us. And
I finally got
I
the
hope you
time and
enjoyed
the
it.
place. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I've already read the next book.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you, Marilyn. Judy. Judy, you have to unmute.
Sorry.
Okay.
I enjoyed the book on two levels. One was the parenting experience.
Mm-hmm.
And these people had tremendous courage to travel with 6-month-old, not just one, but two of them, and going from Boise, Idaho, which I have been to, and is like 180 degrees different from Rome. And then here they're thrown in this totally different environment, a totally different culture, and having to deal with the children. So I thought a lot of the parenting stuff sort of touched home. The other part of it that I really enjoyed was reading his descriptions of Rome. I was in Rome in 1966, so I'm sure it has changed a lot from when I was there and when he was there. But I just, his observations of people and how people behaved in grocery stores and the example that you gave of how people would comment on his children, I thought it was just tremendously insightful.
Yeah.
So those were sort of the two things that I got from it. And also having read his other book, All the Light We Cannot See. Now I know he was supposed to be writing it at that time, but other things got in the way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, thank you, Judy. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Blanca.
Hi. So I like this author. I liked his other book, All the Light We Cannot See. I like how he researches and the details he puts into it. And I've been to Italy. And I've also moved with a 3-month-old from Cincinnati to Asia. And then he was 2 when we moved back to Cincinnati, and then Connecticut, and then Massachusetts. So there were so many things I felt his pain. And as he was saying, I was like, oh yeah, I remember, oh yeah. But my overall impression of the book was it was really tedious for me. Even though I like him and I liked it, I found this book very hard to get through, very unenjoyable. And I like the nerdiness and the facts that he puts into it, because I really enjoy the historical aspects and the architectural aspects. So I don't know why, but I think having also moved with children myself and having had that experience of like I had a 10-year-old that I had to leave alone to take my 4-year-old to Newton Wellesley, which I didn't know where it was. And I was alone. I didn't have a neighbor to call. I'd only been here for 4 weeks, and he had a cut. And like all of this drama of being in a new place where I spoke the language, but I didn't know what I was doing. So there were so many places where I could relate, but I found him, I don't know, I'll just say it. I found him to be whiny in some respects, even though it was all true. And even though I relate to it, I found it a little bit whiny. And overall, this was not a book I enjoyed. Like it would not be a book I recommended to anyone, put it that way, which is rare. I can only think of 1 or 2 other books in my lifetime that I have not enjoyed. So I don't know why, I just didn't like this one.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Anne.
I agree with her. I've been waiting. I found it boring. I don't care about, what happened with the twins from day to day. I can't even imagine taking kids that age to a place like that. I felt bad for his wife. I mean, what kind of a year did she have with those kids? And I read it all, but I found it boring. And I read all The Light I Cannot See. And I've been to Rome twice, once when I was just out of college, and then probably 5 years ago. But I was only there for a couple days. But anyway, I did not like it that much.
All right.
Sorry.
All right. Well, thank you, Anne. Thank you. Anybody else? Pam.
So I'm sort of in between all these discussions. I actually was initially going to say I really appreciated it, but I didn't love it. It didn't keep me going. And I part of that I think has to do with where I am and where we all are now. I sort of want to be totally escaped, read really things that are just pure escape. Or I'm also, I started the Obama memoir. So 2 different things, but somebody's life, 16 years ago, even though I appreciated so much about it. I think he is a beautiful writer. And I both listened and read it. And he narrates it. I don't know if you did it that way.
No.
But I liked reading it much better because you get the words and the way he puts them together. Where I've been driving a lot, and when you listen, you don't get all those nuances and the detail. I mean, for listening, plot is important, and the plot here is not. There
so
isn't
much.
really a plot.
Right.
So also I have twins, and I actually sort of their first 18 months is a blank in my mind. So I was trying to think I'd connect there, but I just didn't. So, but I really like this discussion because I appreciate all the, just everybody bringing out the fine points of the book.
Yeah. And Pam, when you had twins, you also had older kids, right?
I did, yes.
Yeah, so you had more.
But I have to say, I don't even remember anything before 18 months because I didn't go to the hospital with exhaustion, but you just can't think of anything else.
No, I can't even imagine. No, I mean, I moved, one of my babies was 5 months old when we moved long distance, and that was the same moving to a place with the same language, and it was a lot. I can imagine, a different language. That would be the big barrier for me, but I admire what they did. I think when you're young, that's what you do. You just go for it. But anyway, thank you so much, Pam. And thank you all for your, I really appreciate diverse opinions. That's what makes a rich discussion. So who else would like to speak? Judy. Judy Wolf.
I love the book. I thought it was beautifully written in an almost poetic style with his choice of words. What I enjoyed on many different levels, it made me feel I was revisiting Rome. It was wonderful, like a video, like one of Rick Steves' videos, but translated into writing.
Sure.
I thought the character studies, his relationship with people was beautifully done, beautifully done. And the poignancy of the visit to the hospital. I wasn't bored with any of it. I sat down and read it through. I thought his details were apt and descriptive. And I came away from the book feeling as if I knew the people he had met in Italy, and then wondered how in the world they could ever go from Rome to Boise.
Oh gosh, so true. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Judy. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And so let's see, Linda, Mary.
Hi.
Hey.
I have never been to Rome or Italy, and I really appreciated the treat of spending the 4 seasons with Anthony. He's such a gifted writer, and I just loved reading all the, just his daily experiences, and there was some humor that I really liked, just ordering the grapefruit sauce in the store. I just found myself really enjoying it. It's more memoir than a travel book. And it was a very personal glimpse about life in Rome. And he learned a lot about himself too during that year too. So it was definitely a growth experience for him and his family, and watching his children grow in that year. And it was very personal, and I really welcomed that opportunity. So
Oh, well, thank you so much, Mia. That's such a good insight point that he did grow. He had to grow through this year to get through it, and really, obviously we'll never forget it, but certainly added to who he is as a person for probably forever. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Irene. You need to unmute, Irene. There you go. You got it.
I liked it and I disliked it. I've been to Rome several times, but I don't feel as I have overall idea of where things are. So I thought it could have benefited from a map and even a few pictures. Some of the places that he talked about, I was familiar with them and I could picture them in my mind. But other times I got frustrated and I thought, he's going to get on a bus? Where's he going now? Is it near? Is it far? It was really hard to sort of put where he was going. So it sort of looking at it as a travel log, which it wasn't, but that was part of it. I would have appreciated it more if I could find myself exactly where he was in relationship to other places he was going to visit.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Irene. All right. Let's see. Judy Wolf.
I thought there was a lot of love in that book. really an antidote for the kind of grim times we're facing now. His relationships were beautifully explained, and the love that he had for his wife and his children, but his neighbors and their empathy. Strangers, to newly made friends, to their young woman who helped them in the house. The book just was immersed, I thought, with love and optimism while being realistic.
Yeah, beautifully said, Judy. I 100% agree with you. I thought it was also a good. I actually chose it because I loved it, and because there's so much in such a small book. And I knew with the holidays, maybe people would be busy, but there is so much positivity in the book is what I felt, and love, of course. So I appreciate that so much. Thank you. Tom?
Good morning. I'm done with my breakfast.
Morning. Welcome.
I'm glad there were a few people I particularly appreciate that somebody said it was boring. I thought it was boring. I read the beginning, and my child rearing days are long gone, and I didn't really want to be reminded of them. But I did go back to the book and read about the last 20 or 30 pages, and I found the writing much more interesting at the end.
Oh.
And that was an interesting contrast. I think he needed to get warmed up at the beginning or something, which made it okay. I'm not glowing or anything about it, but I liked some of those personal tales going into the grocery stores and struggling to get things ordered and stuff. I thought it was pretty cute.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad you liked it, Tom, because you're not glowing about a lot of books.
I know. Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say I like it, but at least the ending was a little heartwarming.
Excellent. Well, I'm happy about that. I'm glad. Thank you. Anybody else like to comment? Marilyn, no, Linda.
Well, I found the book soothing in a way. The writing was soothing. I've been to Rome, and his descriptions were right on. I could see the area, Trastevere, where he lived. I could see where he was in my head, visualize where he was walking, getting on the bus, going into those stores, walking up the steps, those little elevators. I think there was such a sense of innocence about him and his family. Experiencing something for the first time, and he was so not awestruck, but in awe and appreciative of all these new experiences, which is true when you're in another country. I've lived in 3 or 4, and even when you're single or just as a couple, every little thing is such a wonderful thing. Most things are like, even if they're bad experiences, like they're so different, you want to describe them and share them. And then it does, of course, when you have children, there are just those details to sort out. Sure. But it does go on a little bit. It seems a bit verbose, but I enjoyed it. I liked his style.
Oh, good. Well, thank you, and thank you for joining us. I think this is your first time.
My first time.
I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you would like to come back next month. Thank you. Okay, anybody else? I did want to read one more before we conclude. I wanted to read about Thanksgiving, because we're going into Thanksgiving, and it's a very different Thanksgiving than anybody has ever known in our lifetime. And so he says, what do I give thanks for this Thanksgiving? The boys and Shauna and the veal meatballs, the butcher rolls in breadcrumbs and packs in wax paper. I could just visualize it, you know. I'm thankful for music and the taste of the little chocolate coffee cups from the chocolateria Shauna found in Travestaire, and the heat from the radiator beside me, and for the pencil box Shauna bought me 2 days ago, made out of handmade paper. I'm thankful that everything sweet is sweet because it is finite. And I like that. So true. Oh, Tom, you want to speak?
I'm not sure if we're done with the book club, but